Good evening and welcome to The Author's Corner with your host, author Kimberly McLemore, as she welcomes her guests into the studio to discuss excerpts of their book.
All right, good evening and welcome to the Author's Corner. I am your host, author Kimberly McLemore, and thank you for tuning in tonight's show. Tonight I have another amazing guest for the month here. But before I introduce them, let me just take a couple minutes and tell you a little bit about myself and the purpose of my show. I am the author of How to Be a Success by Just Being You, Are You Living or Existing? The Pros and Cons of Balancing Life, and the 2019 ILA Award Author of the Year for Social Awareness for my book, Memoir, Deception of the Heart, a real look into domestic violence. I am also the CEO and founder of the Women's Small Business Initiative, LLC, the host of the podcast, Your Resource for Success, right here on iHeart Radio, and the founder of Author Kimberly McLemore, LLC. And the purpose of this platform is to provide new and existing authors an opportunity to tell us their story, promote their books, and of course talk about their events or speaking engagements they may have coming up throughout the year. But let me introduce you to my very first special guest and a good friend. I have Mr. Chip Baker, author of The Formula Chart for Life. Chip Baker is a teacher, coach for 21 years, fourth-generation educator, creator of the Chip Baker, The Success Chronicles, a YouTube channel podcast that interviews people from all walks of life about success. He is also a 3-time best-selling author, Growing Through Your Go-Through, Effective Conversation to Ignite Relationships, and Suited for Success Volume 2. He is also the creator of Chip Baker Character Development Program. So now, without further ado, please help me welcome to my platform my special guest and friend, author Chip Baker. Hey, Chip, how are you?
Hello. I'm doing just fine. You doing all right today?
Doing great. You know, as we talked a few minutes earlier, you know, just doing my normal Friday night thing, hanging in the house. So,
yeah, just hanging out. Seems like we've been doing that for a while.
Exactly. Yes, the becoming the norm, you know. I mean, I think we're all excited about actually getting out and living a little more, but at the same time, I'm starting to get used to this and kind of enjoying it. But, you know, I got that little edge, you know, the little itch that I just want to go out there just for a little while and say, I just want to do what I want to do without feeling like I got to rush back home, you know, for a couple minutes from being in the store or something. But, you know, it's the new norm. And then I guess as we talked earlier, you know, it's about being safe and healthy. And so here we are, you know, we're living that new norm. So are things there in Houston, Texas area, you guys able to maneuver now, or are you guys still on lockdown as well?
Well, we are. They started opening up some things last week.
Okay.
So it's not quite all open, but, you know, there's some things that are a little open. Few restaurants on the way. You can tell more people are getting out and about. And so I think the main thing is just we all just need to take our time and be safe, you know, because the virus, it doesn't matter. It doesn't care who you are. You know, it
right.
can take you.
That's
and
right.
So it's important to make sure that we stay safe and do what we're asked to do, because I think it'll save our life for real.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you. So tell us what you have been up to with all of this going on, stay at home. And, you know, I know you've got some new things going on, and I can't wait to start diving in the book here in a little bit, but tell us what else, tell us a little bit more about you, Chip, and then tell us what you got going on.
Yeah, sure. So just like you said, I'm an educator, author, multiple time author, YouTube channel, podcast, The Success Chronicles, and like you said, where I interview people. It's really been a blessing being able to connect with some amazing people like yourself, you know, and you know, create some quality relationships where I'm around people that I'm able to learn so much, and it's really been a neat ride. Just like you said, you know, with the coronavirus going on, you know, taking advantage of the time to have the downtime to really just, you know, hone in and focus on some things that I've always wanted to work on, or learn some things I've always wanted to learn, or focus in and get some good quality family time. And so it's been good for me. I've finished the book, and I'll just share this secret, working on another one. Just really, taking advantage of the time and grateful to have it.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, is that we can sit back and, whine and cry about what it is we can't do, but there's so much opportunity now. And I think that as a business owner or as an author, when you're used to just doing what you have to do, now you have an opportunity to kind of sit still. We're constantly thinking, what can we do next? How can we be better? Who can we connect with? Because you can't always be in that same room with this person, you have multiple opportunities to connect with them through technology, which we wouldn't have had 20 years ago. Those opportunities, when you think about it, right?
That's it, man. The technology, it's been great. I mean, I think sometimes I get a little zoomed out.
Right.
They're like Kenny Riley back in the day. All I want to do is zoom,
right.
and a boom, boom.
Exactly.
But it's been good though. Like you said, taking advantage, been able to communicate with some people that I haven't communicated with in a long time and catch up with them. So it's been a blessing, and it's all about perspective too, right?
Right.
You can,
absolutely.
With anything you face in your life, if you have the right positive perspective about it, then what you get out of that is going to be great things for you. But if your perspective is not where it needs to be, well, it'll be the other way.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Yeah. I mean, and that's the key. It's really about mindset. And, depending on your mindset and your attitude is going to depend on how you're going to utilize this time frame that you have. Because once we do get back into that real world, as I call it, we're going to be complaining again. I want to have a day off, or I want to do this, so, we can never be totally happy, right? So
that's it. We can be mostly happy, though. And
right.
It's a choice.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, tell me a little bit more about, you are now the creator of the Chip Baker Character Development Program. Talk about that program.
Yeah. So, as like you said, throughout my life, I've been blessed to experience some really, cool things. But fourth generation educator, played sports, been a coach for 20 years. And so what I did was I've taken all of those experiences that I've had and just thought about the things that, as a player, what are some things I would need to hear? As a leader, leader athlete, what are some things that I need to hear? As a young mentee, as a mentor, as an administrator, I thought about all of the things from all different phases of it. And what I did is I just put together a package of videos that is the character development program. And what it allows education, sports programs to do is, it allows the adults and the students to watch together and build and establish quality relationships. So what you do is you check out the videos together, and then you have a conversation about those topics, which spark lots of other things. But at the end of the day, it allows you to get closer and get more in depth. So really, you're not number 24. You are Chris Jones or whoever, And so it allows you to get more intimate. And the people that have been great for me in my life, that were mentors for me, they took the time to do those things, right?
Right.
So that's why I put that together, and it's been beneficial for a lot of programs.
And that's a good concept. I like the concept that you're talking about, how instead it's not really just about the words, it's about the videos and people, and seeing people and hearing them talk about the things that they have gone through and how they're sharing that. And I think that's a pretty neat concept, because sometimes, as much as we all love to read, and, as authors, we, our big thing is that we want people to read everything that we write. It's always really nice to be able to see a video that you can connect to in a different way. And then sometimes I always say that even, doing like these type of shows, because people ask me, well, why don't you do, your shows, you don't do them on video anymore. And I think a big part of that for me is the aspect of, I want you to hear, I want you to listen to what we're saying versus seeing what we're saying. Because sometimes we can get thrown off of, ooh, that person looks like such and such, or why are they doing this, or what, instead of really tuning in to what we're talking about. But your concept is doing it the opposite direction, but in a way where people can connect and learn from what you've, have learned from others, and then they're sharing that. So, it's always nice to be able to see that people are sharing their golden nuggets in a different way, and they can excel from that. Yeah, I like that. So, thank you. You're welcome. So with the program, can you just talk about maybe one specific video that you've done that stands out to you?
Yeah, sure. I think if you don't mind, can I do two?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll let you have one extra.
Man, you're all right. You're all right.
Well, thank you.
And the reason why I asked for two, and I'll tell you why. I think the first is because there's one that comes to mind for the kids. It's kid specific, and it's about mindset. Mm-hmm. What should your mindset be when you're going in to prepare to play a game? What should your mindset be? About athletics and academics and all of those things. And so I think that's one that sticks out to me. And then for the adults, there's the one that sticks out to me is awareness. And then I'll give you a little scoop on that since you let me do two of them. I'll go more in depth on it.
I appreciate that. We want to hear from the expert himself. Go for it.
Oh, shucks. No, but for the adult one, it's about awareness. Be aware is the title of the video. And I tell a story of, how, I was doing a seminar in my hometown, in my home school, and I tried to, connect with a student there, and the student was like, really like standoffish and wasn't buying. So the next year, I get the head job at that school in my hometown, and same scenario. I walk up to the kid, try to connect with the kid. He's kind of standoffish. And as I'm reflecting, I realized that's the same kid from last year.
Oh, wow.
And so it was my goal to connect with that kid. And so, I was, I'm competitive. So, I'm going to connect with all the kids. I'm going to love all the kids, right? Mm-hmm. I don't care who you are. You can get this, you can get it. And so, it was my goal. And, by, a couple of weeks, he was at least shaking my hand or, speaking to me.
Wow. And
come to find out, down the road, the kid really ended up having a great relationship. The kid he found out where I would park. He started meeting me outside and helped me bring my bag in.
Oh, that's sweet.
Oh man, it was great. Mm-hmm. Like, and so, if the kid, got in trouble or anything in school, he would only talk to me,
wow.
like those kind of things.
Yeah. But it's the trust you built with him. He felt safe. And, but the thing I like what you're saying is that here it is, you're talking about just being aware. To think that from year after year, here the same child, is standing alone. And it took one person with some courage, which was you, to give him that opportunity to stand out. And he was thankful for that.
And really, you can take it and look at as a student, but really, it's all of us in our life. I mean, we all need, someone to just look out for us and know that we're there, or encourage us to remind us that we have value. We are, red and yellow, black and white. We are precious in His sight, right?
Absolutely.
And so
absolutely.
Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever has happened to you, you still have value. You can still add value to our world. We just have to be reminded of that.
That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And, and this really is a great segue into talking about the formula chart for life, because, just those two things that you just, brought up about mindset and awareness, this is a great opportunity to tell us First of all, how did you come up with the title, The Formula Chart for Life? And then we'll dive into some excerpts of your book.
Okay. So, how I came up with it, there was a couple things. It's a mix that it adds up to. So growing up, I always struggled with math, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always had problems with math, had to work really hard, had some great people when I was young that really took the time to work with me to help me, but I still struggled.
Mm-hmm.
Then, I got in college and, the math classes that I had to have, I barely passed
Right.
those, but I worked my tail off. And I'm going to just say, I don't know about passing. The professors probably just passing because they got tired of seeing me and me asking them questions. But either way, I take it and run with it, okay?
Right, exactly, exactly. Take what you can.
Yeah, man, thank you. But, and then a few years, into my career, I was blessed with the opportunity to co-teach a chemistry class.
Wow.
And so, I did that for a few years as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so in all of those situations, I was reflecting on, you have formula charts in math.
Mm-hmm.
And really, if you just plug the formulas into the formula charts, it makes things a lot easier for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I started jotting down notes on some life formulas. Man, if we do this in life, we can get this. If we do this, then that's greater than this. Mm-hmm. And so I just started, taking notes and jotting some of those things down. And that's how I came up with the concept of the formula chart for life.
Wow. And it's funny how the way that you're describing it's funny how life is a formula, right? And sometimes we don't look at, and we don't always look at life being a formula. But you're right. If you put A with B, you're going to come out with C. And then if you keep adding, you can continue to either grow, or you can either go backwards. And so I think that the concept of thinking of life as a formula, I think the cool part is what are you going to be teaching or talking about in this book of how to teach people to put those formulas together? Or are you providing the specific formulas that you feel will be beneficial for them to help them in certain instances within their personal life or professional life?
And I'm glad you asked me that because it's really not a lot of writing in the book. The book is filled with formulas. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's filled with just formulas where you see. I think the beauty of it is, like, for example, the table of contents is general success, laws, constants, greater than, equals, acronyms, cause and effect, cycles in life, zones, seasons of our lives, negatives and positives. And so, like, that's the table of contents. And so in each chapter, you have formulas that help you with those things. And so, and here's the bigger thing too. It's really cool. It makes me proud because every formula that's in here have a personal life story or something that I've grown through to help me. And so not only is this a book that's filled with formulas that I feel that'll help people, but I feel that it'll help people because doing this has helped me in my life.
I like that. That is very interesting. I like the fact that you're not just giving the formula, but you were actually just showing people this is how it works. Here's this circle for you, and here's come full circle back to you, and you're embracing that, and you're letting people know whatever that chapter may be at that particular moment, that this is what life is really about, but this is how you can mix this formula up and make it work for its betterment. And, I would like for you to read the excerpt from the one about cause and effect, because I think there's so much of that going on right now. I would like to hear your couple minutes of your story and how you came about on that.
Cause and effect. Okay, let me get to it here. I'm looking.
You didn't know I was going to give you some homework, huh?
Yeah. Man, it's Friday evening. I'm mentally dead. I got to come up with some. Got to do my homework. Let's go. Let's step up. Let's go. All right. So, you're talking about effect, the formula effect equal cause plus perspective.
Yes.
Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, I think that you mentioned there was a cause and effect or chapter on that or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So in there, so when you look at, there's a lot of things that will happen in our life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cause lots of things, but and really we kind of hit on it actually earlier in the interview a little bit, without even knowing it. So what comes out of that determines your perspective. So cause plus perspective equals effect is the formula. So, whatever caused it, whatever it is, whatever the situation is, that's not the main thing that you need to focus on. The main focus should be the perspective. Do you have a good perspective on it, or do you have a bad perspective on it? Because from that will give you the effect. So if you have a good perspective, then whatever comes after that, which is the effect, will be good. If you have a bad perspective about it, then the effect that comes from that will be bad. So that's the formula on cause and effect.
I like that. Yeah. And that's a different concept, a different way of looking at that. It's the simple scenario of, what's the saying of how, what you hear, what you do is that 90% is how you act, and whatever the 2% is your, that type of scenario. And I think that's amazing, because the way you laid it out, it just made the formula even a little bit more simpler, because you're saying that, hey, stop. Yeah. It's like, stop worrying about why you did what you did, but what is the end result of it? How are you going to take that lesson per se and make yourself either become a negative or a positive? And I think that's pretty neat.
Simple.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
And another formula that that's in there is that relates to this. It's not in the same chapter, but in the equals chapter, less equals more.
Mm-hmm.
Just like in that case, we made it simple. And really, if you make things simple, it allows you to do more. Right. Right. And
how many times have we heard that saying? I mean, practically all our lives, but how many times do we ignore those little lessons, those little sayings, and until something either negative comes up or, you're struggling with them, then you start to think about it. And like I said, if we use this in aspects of our everyday life, those formulas will be so much easier. And it's even easier to be able to, when you have a circumstance or situation, you can just, you don't even have to pull out the book, you'll know. Because once you've read it, you've seen it, you've learned it, you already know probably most of them. It's just, reinvigorating your mind into utilizing those tools and resources that are available to you.
And a perfect example, we were talking a little bit about, when you're for an entrepreneur, right? You're an entrepreneur or a business person or anyone, we all have lots of hats that we wear. And there's lots of things that we have to do, whereas, whatever our faith, our family, our job, our this, whatever the list goes on and on,
right?
Of things that we're involved in. But the ability for us to be able to be efficient, effective, and successful in all of those avenues is the ability to have simplicity, yes, but operating systems, right? And so, formulas, it gives you operating systems by which you can operate to allow you to be efficient and effective.
Wow. Yes. Oh, you're hitting on some good topics there. Ooh, we could be talking about this all night, because it's, like you said, it's just, it's just so simple, but when the way that you're putting it out there, it does make you think. And I think that's the key, is that, we don't have to make it so simple where we just forget about it, but you're really making that person sit back and rethink and analyze about who they are, what they're doing, how they're handling certain things in their lives that, they don't have to make hard, but a lot of times we do. As human beings, we sometimes think we know the better way, but instead of listening to that guidance that's in our head or in the formulas that we know that are already there, it's just who we are. And we just don't understand sometimes that the pressure that we're putting on ourselves is truly unnecessary, right?
No doubt.
All right. Well, wow. I mean, that's some very, very deep stuff there. And like I said, I love the name, The Formula Chart for Life. And it's really The Formula Chart for Life by Mr. Chip Baker. Okay. That's actually the full title. I just want to make sure everybody understands that. Okay. And even the book cover is really cool because you have formulas on the book cover. So when is this book actually going to be released, or is it already released?
Not released just yet. Still in the pre-order phase, and you know, it'll be out within a week, and so real close. You know, still doing the pre-orders, still creating some buzz on it, and I'm truly thankful for you giving me the opportunity to be on and talk about it.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah, because I mean, you have so many books, you know. Because I think we had talked about you know, talking about one of your other books, and then it was like, nope. You're like, no, this is the one. I'm like, oh, where'd this one come out? Because you just had another book that was just recent too, and I'm like, I can't keep up with you.
Yeah. It's that's it's a blessing and a good problem to have. You know, this is my fourth book, and it's all been a neat experience and learning so much in the process. You know.
Mm-hmm. And you said secretly that you were working on another one. Do we get a little bit of, you know, can you tell us a little bit about that? A little hint, or are you going to just hold on to that?
Well, since you let me talk about two things earlier, I guess I can do a little bit more.
Well, just think about all the people listening, you know? I mean, all these people are thinking about how many books they can buy from you, right?
That's it. I love it. There you go. You are good. You are good. So, I think I'll share this quote with you, and then I'll talk a little bit about the next book. But, you know, there's a quote from one of my former pastors, and he said that, you know, our life moves at the speed of our relationships. That quote is from Pastor Danny Green. And, you know, for me, I've been truly blessed to have some quality relationships with people that are teaching, have taught me so much. And so, you know, I'm in the midst of, you know, doing some work with some of those people. And the next book is about quality relationships. And, you know, writing that with Mr. David Chin. He's the co-author, and he's a big-time entrepreneur, a former partner in Deloitte. I mean, just a great guy. Does involve esports, and so we just break down, you know, quality relationships and the key components for that.
Wow. All right. Well, I appreciate you just giving us a little snippet. I'm not going to make you talk about it anymore. And as we're getting close to the end of this segment, I do want you, though, to tell the listeners about where they can find you and how they can purchase your books.
Yes. So YouTube channel, Chip Baker, The Success Chronicles. Podcast is the same on all podcast platforms. All my social media is at Chip Baker, TSC as in the Success Chronicles, except for Twitter. My Twitter is Chip Baker 19. And so, you know, on there in the bios are links to all of that stuff, like my books and all of that. And, you know, I like to, you know, share this as well. You know, I learned a long time ago in my life that it ain't about me, right? So my goal is to give and help and do what I can to make a positive difference in our world. So if you go on and you see something that you like, of course, the usual, like, follow, subscribe, you know, leave a comment, you know, all of those things.
Right.
But even more than that, you know, if you see something that you like and there's somebody that you think of, that you think it'll help them, please share with them to help make their world a better place as well. So that's me.
All right. Well, you guys heard it live. And I couldn't have asked for a better opening of the show this evening. You know, Chip, I've known you for a while, and I definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing all the good things you have going on, you know, in your world, and keep doing what you're doing. I mean, it's fabulous. So I hope that I get an opportunity to get back to Houston and actually meet you in person, because I never get to see you when I go down there. So hopefully, if not this year, hopefully the following year, you know, because the way things are going to get back to, you know, I'll be probably running around crazy anyway. So Don't know what the rest of my year is going to look like once I can actually travel again. But I do, again, like I said, thank you for coming on tonight. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Same sentiments to you, and I wish you continued success. And go get it.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, Chip. So as you guys heard, this was my great friend, and he is the author, Chip Baker, of The Formula Chart for Life. You just heard him talk about some amazing things. So please support Chip. He is a good guy, and he's got a lot going for him. He's always out, trying to help others. So now it's time to reciprocate, as I always say, help our authors, support them, purchase their books. All right, you guys are going to go to our 2-minute break, and then we'll be back with our next guest, Mr. Andrew Hess, in a few minutes. Sit tight.
Welcome back to the Author's Corner with your host, author Kimberly McLemore.
All right, you guys, hello and welcome back to the Author's Corner. I am your host, author Kimberly McLemore, and I'm going to introduce you to my next special guest, Andrew Hess. He'll be calling in about 3 minutes, but before then, I'm going to go ahead and give you some information about him. Andrew Hess is the king of cliffhangers, was born of Long Island, New York. His love of writing was discovered while studying psychology at SUNY New Paltz. I hope I'm saying that right. He'll have to correct me when he gets on. He grew up an avid reader of fellow mystery and suspense authors such as James Patterson and Edgar Allan Poe. He designed his writing to be a combination of the two authors and added plot twists to his stories. With more than 20 books to his name, Hess is not done yet. He moved to Georgia with his wife and son to spend more time with them. The area has filled him with more inspiration to branch into other genres, including horror, psychological thrillers, children's books, and mid-grade books. With so much already accomplished and much more to come, keep your eyes on this author as he takes you on a literary journey you will never forget. So we're going to have Mr. Andrew Hess give us a call here in a second here. So, so we can keep this show going. I mean, he's excited about coming on, so we want to make sure we give him his time. So he'll be dialing in here in a second, and we're going to be talking about his book called Campus Killers. It's book 1 of the Detective Ryan series. He has got plenty of books out there, so I can't wait to get his perspective and hear how things are going with him. So Andrew, you can go ahead and call in now if you're listening, because we are definitely ready for you to come on board and talk to us. because we're excited about you being on the show tonight. So Andrew should be dialing in everybody. And I hope you did enjoy Chip Baker. He, like I said, is a really good friend and has done some phenomenal things in our in the community and there in Houston. So we're just waiting, like I said, for Andrew to chime in, and hope you guys enjoyed the second half, and hope you enjoyed the first half of the show, because like I said, Andrew Hess is another amazing author that we have not learned a lot about, and I don't know, so we're going to learn a lot about him tonight. So here he is. All right, do I have Andrew on the line with me?
Yes, you do.
All right, Andrew, how are you doing this evening, sir?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Well, welcome to the Author's Corner. I don't know if you've been listening, but I've been already talking about you. So we are excited about you being on the show this evening, and we are ready to dive right on in, sir. So you did provide me a bio that I read. So why don't you just tell the listeners a little bit more about who Andrew Hess is?
Pretty easygoing guy. Grew up on Long Island, New York.
Mm-hmm.
Was born and raised in Lindenhurst, and then I actually had lived upstate in the New Paltz and Poughkeepsie area for about 5 years before moving back to Long Island. And I actually just moved to Georgia almost a year ago. I actually moved. It's June 1st was when I moved down to Georgia. Love movies, love music. Just started taking up walking every single day. So I've been walking for almost like an hour every single day, listening to different music, which is actually kind of helping me even with my my flow of writing again. So I have a 3-year-old son who loves to drive me crazy.
No, especially these days, right?
Oh yeah, especially these days. He's been home for the last 9 weeks because of everything. So I've been dealing with him for like 24/7 for the last 9 weeks.
Sounds like Dad needs a break.
Oh yeah, Dad's looking forward very much to like when everyone goes back, so this way he can continue working from home in peace.
Right. Well, tell us how you really feel, Andrew, right?
Always.
So, but in Georgia, aren't some things open? So what part of Georgia are you actually in?
So I'm in the north part of Georgia. I'm actually in Dawsonville. Okay. And they do have things open, but because Georgia's been still going up, and only recently have they actually started to kind of decline again. They were going up almost like 1,000 cases a day.
Oh, wow.
So we were still hesitant about bringing him back to daycare. So we're kind of still weighing out our options on things because it looks like they're starting to open up a little bit more. So we're trying to see what we want to go and do with it.
Yeah, because he definitely, I'm sure he misses his friends and he wants to get away from you big people too, you know. So
yeah.
He wants his own life back, because
he's already come back with that no one ever listens to me.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, you're 3, you're not 13.
Yes, but they think they're already grown. They come out into the world grown, as I always tell people.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, it's better you guys, though. Better you guys. I'm so glad I bypassed that stage years and years ago. So, but I'm just excited about you being on the show tonight. And I mean, you have written tons of books. You're one of these type of writers where, most of us as authors are trying to get to that point in life. 20 books is a lot of books. And I know you write a lot about series, but tell me a little bit and our listeners about how did you really get into writing? I mean, what really threw you over the edge that you wanted to start writing and the magnitude that you have? So
it was originally just to be something I was just kind of tinkering around with. I was in college at the time. This is dating back to like 2005. And I had a random idea at the time, and I was just like, oh, you know what? I'm like, what would life be like if the government was spying on us through like our phones and stuff like that, listening in on phone calls. And I ended up coming up with this government conspiracy idea in my head. And I started writing the very first novel, which was The Phoenix Blade. And then I kind of just kept rewriting it. And then my computer crashed. I was like, oh, I'm not going to go and do this anymore. I'm just going to let it go. And I ended up going back to it again, but in like 2000, I want to say 2009, I started back up again. And I kept writing it, and then I would rewrite it. And it just became like, oh, man, I'm like, I really love this. I'm like, I really want this to be out there. I want this to be a book. I want this to eventually be like a movie or a TV series or something.
Right.
So I kept on having that in my head. And then I was also at that point starting to write a detective novel because like I loved reading James Patterson books. I read Sherlock Holmes when I was a kid. I read the Hardy Boys when I was a kid. So it was just, and I watched like a ton of like the crime dramas on TV. So I was like, I really want to write one. And I came up with the Detective Ryan series. So between The Phoenix Blade and the first book of Detective Ryan, which was Campus Killer, I was just like, wow. I'm like, this is pretty cool. And I can keep doing this.
Forever, right? It's like what's the job?
It was just random ideas that just kept coming to me. And I just kept on like going forward with like all these books. And I was just like, wow. I'm like, okay.
Wow. So yeah, your mind is
too many things going on
in your head. That's what I was just gonna say. Your mind is literally all over the place, and I'm sure that's got to be hard to function sometimes because I know as an author, we all have those moments, but you seem to be having those moments consistently. So, do you do writing full time as a living?
No, I work full time from home for a background screening company, and I do the writing part time.
Okay. Well, I don't still see how you have enough time to write all these books. And you said your mind is preparing to think about writing some more, which is, like I said, within the era that we're in right now, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of books coming out after all of this stay at home and the COVID thing going on. I mean, everybody is definitely going to be bringing out their experiences. So, as you're talking about writing these books, I was reading, like I said, you do horror, psychological thrillers, children's books, and mid-grade books. How does your mind, or how do you determine which one's going to come out first? Because you're a series writer. So when you started jumping into children's books and mid-grade books, where did that come from? Was it based off of your son or other things beyond that?
Yeah. So I had people telling me for a long time I would probably be really good as a children's writer. And I kept on putting it off. And I never really thought of anything for it. And then we wound up taking my son, I want to say it was about 2 years ago. We went and took a trip to Tennessee. And we ended up it was like a big trip. We went to Tennessee, we went to South Carolina, we came home. And then we still had like a few days. So we took him to an aquarium. And I was just seeing like everything in his face. And he was loving Finding Nemo movie. And he was just like mesmerized by all these fish. And I'm like, what's going on through his head? Like, I would love to know what's going on through his, like seeing things from his perspective.
Right.
And came up with the series. It's going to be called Through a Child's Eyes. And it's focused actually directly from his perspective, and it's different things that like we go and do as a family, but I'm taking it from his perspective and just bringing things to life from like his thought process.
Oh, that's going to be nice. And that is cool because it's always, I think we're always sitting around wondering, what are the kids thinking when they're looking at us, And I even kind of go through that same scenario when I'm looking at my cat. She's looking at me like, what's wrong with you, lady? And you're always wondering, what are they really thinking, when they see you or they hear your voice and, or what they really want to say to you and they can't get it out right, that type of thing. So I think it's amazing how you're able to utilize that tool in the right way, and having your son be involved has got to be precious time with you guys, doing that together per se, and seeing through his eyes and his face, and, expressions about what he sees and what he's doing. So that's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I like that I'm doing this, and it's definitely like a family bonding experience for the three of us. And then on top of it, it's something where I can kind of try to be on his level of thinking, and also at the same time when these books do come out, I plan on making them also a bit educational.
Right.
So
Right.
it's going to be fun for kids, but it's also going to be able to teach them something.
Right. Right. Well, it's funny. We did used to be kids once ourselves, right?
Yep.
So, sometimes we forget that. And so it's beautiful when you can have a child remind you what it means to be a child again, because we're so busy being adults and, doing this and doing that and making sure everything is perfectly right. And so sometimes it's just great to have that opportunity to just relieve yourself from having to be that adult for whatever moment that you need to, to make that happen. And education obviously is very, very important. And I'm sure your son is re-educating you on what it feels like to be a child, right?
Oh yeah. What's funny is because he's been home and everything, I'm watching the way he plays with his toys and everything. And then he starts doing different voices with it too. And that's something that I used to do when I was a kid, to the point where I was able to actually change my voice. And I've actually been doing, reading one of my books on some of my pages right now. And I try to switch the voices every single time. So and I'm doing a woman's voice, I'm doing guys' voices, I'm doing very prim and proper type of voices. Just it's just funny because that's how I grew up doing that, and it just became something I decided I wanted to do to be, to make something fun for people to listen to and everything. Now, especially with everything going on, that's one thing. And then to hear my son trying to do the exact same thing with him playing with his toy trains, I'm like, dude, where did you come up with this?
It's called entertainment, okay? You used to entertain yourself, and now he's doing the same thing. And especially, I think, being a single child, because I watched my son go through that same process when he was much younger, that form of entertainment. We'd be sitting in this room and have little soldiers, and they're, attacking each other, and I'm hearing all these noises and sounds. I'm like, oh, yeah. Are you all right in there? But he's just entertaining himself, So, yeah, I remember those
mine
days.
was G.I. Joe's. Oh, yeah, mine was G.I. Joe's and wrestling figures. So
there you go. So as they say, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, right?
No, not at all.
All right. So, let's hear about the campus killer. I would love to hear about how you came up with the story. What is the story about? And if you could share an excerpt with our listeners, we would love to hear that.
Sure. All right. So Campus Killer, I wanted to do a detective novel, and most traditional detective novels, you always end up having the stereotypical guy having to be the detective, and I didn't want to do that with this series. I wanted it to be something different a little bit and something special. So I created a character, and I loosely based it off of a friend of mine from college at the time. Her name was Allison. I chose, Allie to be the name, and I wanted her to be the main focal point of the story. And it's not just, a detective story where it's every single time she has to solve a case. Obviously there's going to be some case, a case or two involved in every book, but it becomes all linked together in this weird series. And from the very first book into even where I am now in the series, it has a complete arc of where you're seeing her going from a normal life to how she interacts with her sister, boyfriends, partners, her lieutenant, how the actual cases themselves impact her as a person. So I really wanted to make it, something different. And then on top of it, with her series, you're getting the killer's perspective, or, whoever the villain is. So you're actually reading, especially Campus Killer, you're getting her perspective of her trying to protect her sister and also trying to catch a killer. And at the same time, you're seeing the killer kill the victims. You're getting their perspective. You're feeling their emotion, even as they're going through their normal life. And it's more of not even, okay, who is this guy? It's why is he doing this? Like, you're seeing everything. You want to know more. You want to know why he's doing everything the way he's doing it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sitting over here like acting like I got the book right in front of me, okay? Because the way you just described it made me like, ooh, I want to get this book. I want to read it, because it just sounds aggravating, just amazing, and it gets you all, bubbled up inside and like, ooh, the campus killer. You got this cop, and then you have, her perspective, and you got this whole storyline that it draws you in, and that's the thing I like about how you're describing it, and makes you want to continue the series, I'm sure, after each book. So, which one of the excerpts are you going to share with us this evening?
Trying to decide between the killer or Allie.
Well, we can do both if you want.
All right.
Whatever floats your boat.
I'll do a little bit from both. All right. Let's see where I'm at. Okay, Rachel walked down a paved path near the lake. It was a beautiful starry night. The moonlight bounced off the top of the waters, setting the perfect mood for a romantic, peaceful stroll. Mark strutted down the path, closing in on Rachel, with a gray backpack slung over his shoulder. His pace quickened, gaining speed as he rammed his shoulder into her. Rachel tripped and fell into a tree, using it to regain her footing. "Watch where you're going, asshole." Mark grabbed her arm, thinking he might break it if he squeezed too hard. "Sorry about that. Guess I didn't see you." He kept his eyes half closed, pretending to be just as drunk as she was. Rachel ripped her arm away from him. "Then maybe you should open your eyes." She braced herself and walked off. Mark's blood started to boil. He remembered how Rachel treated him when they used to hang out. Rachel had a knack for butting into his relationship, giving his ex advice, despite never being in a long-term commitment herself. She was also bossy and controlling, forcing others to revolve their plans around her. She considered herself better than everyone else and never took the blame for her own actions. But Mark planned on changing all of that in one night.
Oh.
He reached into his back pocket, pulling out a pair of black leather gloves and slipped them on. "This is it, now or never," he whispered. He jogged behind Rachel and cupped his right hand over Rachel's nose and mouth, using the left hand to pin her upper arms behind her.
I'm waiting for the music to come in. You know that, right? You have in the movie. I'm like, listening to certain parts. I'm like waiting for that dun 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 dun. That high end movie comes in when somebody's getting ready to kill somebody or something is going to happen. That was very, very good. I was very in tune to what you were doing there. So, why did you choose that specific excerpt? What made you feel that we would draw to it the way that we did?
I think it was just because it's the first moment of real suspense when it comes to the Campus Killer book. It's his first victim that he's going after. The first couple of chapters is him getting ready for everything, so you're seeing from his perspective of getting ready. But when you get to this point, this is like, and exactly what I said, this is it. It's now or never. So it's that defining moment where he's thought about doing this before, but now he's at the point where he has to make that call. He has to make that decision whether or not he's going to go through with killing this person who's wronged him in his life. Or is he going to chicken out and walk away being the better person just to say, you know what, I can't do this to her.
Right. But she was definitely rubbing him the wrong way. And like I said, it made his blood boil. I remember you reading, that it was constantly something that she was doing. And he just said enough was enough. And like you said, tonight was the night. So it was not a good night for her, right?
No, it definitely wasn't.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That was good. I really liked that. The suspense, like I said, it drew me in, and, it made me think about, this is more of a movie versus a book. And have you thought about which one of your books that you would love to have as a movie first?
If I really had to choose one specific book to be a movie before anything else, it would have to be my Phoenix Blade series. Project Justice, which is the first book of it. It's been my baby. Like I said, I started writing that in 2005, and I finally published it back in 2013. I even rewrote it to update with like additional content and whole new cover earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, for the first time I have ever done it, I actually included myself in the photo shoot and took the cover on the new version of it. I stood there with two of my friends, and we decided to do the cover together, and had like flames shooting out of a fire pit, while I was getting the pictures taken. But it's been my baby since day one. It's something where, whether it was a TV series or a movie, this is something where I know if it was ever picked up, it's going to be a hit.
Wow. That's your way. You got to speak it into existence, right? Make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many different levels with this, because like you said, like I do write a lot of series, and this book had three books that were released. I had a fourth one ready to go that I wanted to write as well before I publish it. And then I had additional spin-off books to go along with it, where you kind of get backstories from certain people. Like there's a guy called the Benefactor in the first one. And you have a couple of Andrew Lancaster's friends that you meet along the way. And each of them I was kind of doing like a prequel spin-off of, to give their backstories of what brought them all into this whole government conspiracy.
Wow, that's going to be good. I mean, it sounds like you definitely have a great plan in, I'm just trying to figure out how all this is coming out of your head. I mean, you are definitely wrapped into this. I'm just like, wow. I'm listening to you spill this off, and you're like, I got this going on, and you got this series and that piece coming from there. And I mean, it's amazing. I've definitely talked to a lot of authors, on my show, and I think I've talked to one is amazing as you when it comes to the concept of just writing. We all sometimes write from a lot of our experiences more than anything. I'm definitely not one of those writers who are into series and things like that, because it's just not my forte. But when I hear other people who do series, and they have the characters and all of it, that just seems like such a lot of work. But the way that you have put it all together, it just seems so fulfilling for you. And I think that's the blessing out of it, is that you have found something that you have definitely have put yourself into, into the bigger light of it. And do you do any traveling, and do, so that people can get your books, and do you do any speaking engagements? I mean, where are you, talking to people about your books at?
I've done a few book events. I did, the most recent one was actually here in Georgia. It was actually in Cumming, Georgia, back in October. I haven't actually set anything up for this year, especially thankfully with how everything's been going. With a lot of the events have been canceled, so I'm actually really glad I didn't sign up for anything yet this year. But I do plan on doing more once things open up. I'm actually going to be hitting up a lot of the libraries in the Georgia area also. I've been to Tennessee for a couple of signings. I was scheduled to do one in North Carolina, but other things kind of got in the way, namely my son's birthday.
No, but yeah, and that's definitely important, Daddy. You cannot miss that. So yes, I get it. Right. So, well, we need to look. You need to Zoom. As I say, you need to Zoom yourself in, okay? Because Zoom is the big thing now, or the other technology, because you have a ton of great things to talk about when it comes to your book. So, it's just
that is something I've actually been toying around with an idea of. I've been talking with someone very close to me, and she was actually telling me that I should start doing Zoom meetings and trying to get myself out there through Zoom as well. So it's something I've actually been considering.
Hey, well, definitely bring it out, and keep in touch with me and let me know when you do it, because I have a book club too. So, we need to get your books in one of your books that I need to introduce into our book club, because you have plenty that we could choose from. Plenty,
By
that's
all
for
means,
sure. That's for sure. So
let me know what you need, and
absolutely.
I'll get it over to you.
Absolutely. But, Andrew, it's been a pleasure having you on tonight. But before we get off of and come to the end of the show, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, where they can purchase your books. And obviously, like I said, you don't have any engagements coming up right now, but you're definitely going to be working some on in the near future here. But at least let us know where we can find you.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much everywhere. I'm on Facebook. You can find me under my regular name, Andrew Hess. I always just accept friend requests. And then I have an author page. It's, author Andrew Hess, or you can look it up as The Real Phoenix 13. I'm under both of those. I'm on Instagram as author_Andrew_Hess_13. I'm on Twitter under IAM Phoenix 13. And I also have a street team. It's called Team Phoenix. And I do a lot of behind the scenes. When I do the photo shoots, I post up the pictures that I don't turn into teasers. They get, full access to seeing the covers before they're actually released. Mm-hmm. They also wind up getting advanced reader copies of my books. Great people, and they've actually helped me kind of fine-tune some of my writing. They actually helped, one of them specifically helped me with the fourth book of the Detective Ryan series. And before I even put it out, she's like, okay, this needs to get changed big time. And I stopped actually putting, promoting at that point, rewrote about half the book.
Wow.
And sent it back to her to have her look at it again. And she's like, so much better. Like, this was a lot better than what you wrote before. Mm-hmm. Published it. And it got it was a great feedback from a lot of the people that read it.
Well, awesome. Well, and that's what you need. Sometimes it's, when we hear our own selves, we always think we're the greatest, right? So, as authors, but it's always great to get other people's perspective and honesty, and good criticism, constructive criticism, because we need to have that so that we make sure that people do really enjoy the books and they want to buy them and they enjoy the series. And you, like I said, you have a great set of series that, once you start reading, you want to continue. Because that little excerpt that you read to us earlier from Campus Killer, that to me, it really was, it drew me in. And I'm sure the audience was sitting there thinking the same thing. I'm thinking, a good cup of tea or coffee or whatever, and just relaxing and reading a good book. We're doing a lot of that these days. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, to have the opportunity to come on the show and introduce yourself. It has been a pleasure, and I appreciate you for taking time out of your busy evening and tell your son and your wife, I'm sorry that I took up an hour or 30 minutes of your time. So you can go back to being daddy and he can drive you crazy.
It's been a nice reprieve, trust me. And thank you so much for having me.
It is my pleasure. And again, thank you for coming on the show. Everyone else, you have heard it live right here on the Author's Corner. I had two amazing authors this evening. Just finished up with Mr. Andrew Hess, author of Campus Killer. And of course, earlier we talked with Chip Baker, who is the author of The Formula Chart for Life. He is another individual, as we talked earlier, who has several books out there. I have great guests every month, so make sure that you come back next month. I will have two more amazing guests right here on iHeart Radio platform. We're also on many other platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Google Podcasts, Deezer, all of them. So there's no way you can't tune in and re-listen to the show if you missed this live show this evening. Also visit me at my website at www.theauthorscorner.net. So make sure that you check out the books there, and also what I have going on in my world. And if you have any questions for me and you want to be a guest on the show, I will tell you 2020 is full. If you're looking to be a guest for 2021, please reach out to me. You can find my email address on my website, or you can find it on the Facebook page at Author Kimberly M. McLemore LLC through Facebook. So again, have a good evening and thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone, and thank you for tuning in tonight. We'll be back next month on Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with 2 more amazing guests. Follow us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Author Kimberly McLemore. Music by Audionautics.com.